What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. My name is Bondi Johnson. I am the founder and part owner of Roasted Coffee Company. If you guys are new to this channel, I like to really integrate coffee in business because a lot of the people that I am talking to are starting their own coffee roasting companies, have their own coffee roasting companies, all different kinds of people of that demographic. So if you're one of those people, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. I really like to interact. Before I get started, everybody, I want you to comment what topics you want me to cover. And I don't mean questions, but more so a topic that I can make a whole video on, because I don't want to just do a video on one question. I could probably find a way to make that 20 minutes, but I shouldn't, and you don't want that. So comment down what you want me to do a full video on. I have a lot of ideas, but also this is about helping you guys and educating you in the areas that you think that you need it, or areas that you're struggling in. So go ahead and do that for me, and I would be happy to dive into those topics. Today, we're gonna be talking about leases. What does a lease have to do with coffee or a coffee roasting company? Well, if you get to the point, which you inevitably will, where you need a commercial space, then it's important that you have some understanding of what a commercial lease looks like or what you're getting yourself into. Now, this is what I do outside of coffee, right? We all at the Brew Boy -1 have full-time jobs. That's a whole nother topic. I won't dive into that now. Gonna just go around that. But my job is, I'm a commercial real estate broker. And for a while I did tenant representation, meaning I looked at a lot of leases. But now I do something different video again, or conversation, whatever. But this is something that's been, it's worked to our advantage. A lot of people ask me about cottage law and should I worry about roasting out of my home or selling out of my home, shipping from my home address? Again, I've said this 1,000 times. That's one of the things that you shouldn't really worry about, especially starting out, because they just don't care. They'll start knocking on your door if you're causing trouble with your neighbors or neighborhood, having traffic coming to and leaving your house. But if you're just roasting coffee and shipping it, like going to the UPS store or USPS and shipping it, they're not gonna come knocking down your door saying you gotta stop what you're doing. Obviously, I think that you need to make sure that you're smart with what you're doing, but cottage law is something that when you're first starting out and you're able to just roast out of your home, use that to your advantage, even if you're not technically supposed to be roasting or selling out of your home. It's not something to be worried about. But eventually you're gonna get to the point where you need more of a production facility, where you need space. You have more equipment and more inventory and more things, just other pieces of equipment that are necessary for the whole production process, and you're not gonna be able to do it out of your house. So that comes with getting commercial space. We have had 2 now, we're moving into our second, which is why I thought this would be a great time for me to make this video. When you're analyzing or looking at a lease, the first thing that you're probably asking yourself is, how much is this gonna cost me? That's a great question, and a very important question. What's my monthly hit gonna be, right? Paying for this space, and then you can determine if it's worth it. You're gonna be getting rates in a price per square foot. Okay, that's commercial. That's how they do things. Record this part, drill it into your brain. That is an annual basis. If somebody says to you, okay, this space is $19.50 a square foot, a lot of people are gonna come back and do the math and go, holy shit, it's $7,800 a month? Divide that by 12, okay? $19.50 per square foot is the annual cost to rent that space. So that annual cost would be $7,800. I'm using these numbers because this is what our space costs. Divide that by 12 and you're at $650. Your renting is gonna cost you $650 a month. Now you have to ask yourself the second question of, what type of lease is this? Is it a gross lease? Is it full service? Is it modified gross? Is it triple net? All of those things are gonna determine what exactly that $650 covers. Ours is full service or gross. Those are kind of interchangeable. That means we're paying for everything with that $650. We cut the landlord a check for $650 every month. That's it. We're good. We are provided everything else. And in this lease, you'll actually see electricity, HVAC, water, dumpster service, CAM, which is common area maintenance. If you're looking at a modified gross lease, you're gonna have to ask them what's the CAM rate? And the CAM rate will be anywhere from $1 to $3. It just depends on where you are. You also have to ask them, all right, am I paying our electricity, right? What all is the CAM responsible for? Because CAM can mean a number of different things, and utilities might not fall into that cost. So you might have base rent plus CAM plus utilities, and other associated costs, all under modified gross. Now, triple net we don't have to get into because triple net is a whole nother ballgame. Usually you're dealing with large corporate guarantees. So those are large single tenant spaces that are triple net, or industrial. That's very common in that type. So other costs that we are responsible for is internet and cable. We're not going to put cable in the space. Internet we will need, but we might be able to work that out with somebody in there that already has internet. Rent increases. That's something that's important. Your rent's going to increase. Typical is 3% annually. That's why they call real estate a inflation-proof or inflation-resistant investment, because with the typical inflation rates about 2.5% annually. If your rent is increasing 3% on an annual basis, then the landlord is pretty much covering himself for inflation. If your price or the rent that you're paying on day one is the same on, a 3-year lease is the same as day 1,095, you're paying the same rent. It's not gonna be adjusted for inflation. That's gonna hurt the landlord. So it's typical to see rent increases, but you can bargain on that anywhere from 2 to 2.5%, but they'll probably start at 3. Renewals, you wanna see what options you have, okay? So lease options, meaning if you hear the term exercise an option, that means you're gonna be given options to extend a 1-year period, a 3-year period, 5-year period. You might have 2 5-year options that are different rates. That'll include different incentives. That's all really nitty gritty, but you do want to say, what are my options? What options do we have? Is there a security deposit? How much is it? And is it renewable or not? That's gonna be super important, especially if you're in the position of just starting out. Insurance, do you have insurance? Do you require insurance? If they do require insurance, ask them if they have any preferred providers, if they've worked with anybody in the past. It's usually just gonna help you, call somebody and say, I'm moving into XYZ space, blah, blah, blah. It might say that they require it when they don't really. It's just standard lease terminology, so double check on that. Subletting, can you sublease the space? Are you allowed to put another tenant in there if you're looking to leave? And that brings me to the last thing, which is termination, early termination. Do you have the right to terminate early? If you do, is there a fee associated with that? A lot of that stuff that I just said at the end is typical of renting a residential space, but mostly the beginning was for commercial spaces, which is what you'll be using. I know that was probably a lot, and I just fire hose spit all of that out, and you might be at the point right now where you're like, I'm not even close to thinking about commercial spaces. But if you are, that's gonna be really helpful just so that you guys have a understanding of what to look out for. Don't calculate your rent wrong. Remember, per square foot annual basis, divide that by 12 to get your monthly rate. Yeah, that's pretty much leases in a nutshell. We just moved spaces, we got this new lease, it's really simple lease. Some of these things get extremely complicated, especially when landlords have lawyers draft it, because then they're using all this just jargon that you're like, God, I read this 8 times and I don't know what they're saying, so I don't want to sign it. But hopefully it's straightforward. If you guys run into something like this, obviously I'm happy to reach out. Your brokers in a local area are going to know what's typical market rent, especially given the space that you're in. Let's say a Class B retail space in a specific location. What's market rent for that, right? If you're getting a quote, or if they're saying the rate is $17.50 and your broker's like, market rent for this space is $15 a square foot, then you say that. Say, well, why $17.50? And they might go, give us your best offer. And you go, okay, great. Well, let's start at $15 a square foot, and you can negotiate. But that's the perks of having somebody who knows that area and knows real estate working on your behalf. They work for you for free. Landlord covers their costs. So that's it for today, guys. Lots more coming. Please comment down below what kind of video or what topic you want me to cover, and I'm happy to do so. It really helps me kind of prioritize the videos that I'm making to make sure that I'm putting out there what you guys are looking for. I got tons of ideas and I'm gonna keep coming out with videos, but if somebody says, I really would love if you covered whatever, I'll do that. I'm happy to make that video. You guys just gotta comment so that I know. Tons of people that I wanna shout out, and I'll do that in another video and on my Instagram. Proud of all you guys who are making these jumps and taking the steps necessary to actually get things rolling for yourself and get a coffee roasting company underway. So really excited to shout those people out. Try Everybody's Coffee. Really love the support. I appreciate all the messages, the emails, the phone calls. I love connecting with you guys. Don't stop. That's it for today. This was probably the most boring video I've ever made, but hopefully insightful at the same time. Hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed it the most that you could. And I will see you in the next video.